What is up, ladies and gentlemen? But most of all, you ladies out there, thanks for clicking on another episode of Break the Silence. I am your host, Cyborg. Cavs, Heat. Split cow! We just got done watching an awesome basketball game between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat. A game in which the Cavaliers won 104-100. A game that came right down to the wire. Max Strus had a three with a chance to tie it late in the game, and he just missed that shot. There's so much to break down in this game because we want to look at the Cleveland Cavaliers and how their season's kind of going. What we kind of see from them. I think they're starting to get a little underrated in the media. They started the season very, very hot. They struggled a little bit in the second half of the season. To me, this was something that I saw coming because when you put two star guards, all-star level guards, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell together, it's going to take some time for them to figure out how to play. And we've seen some struggles in the crunch time. The Cavaliers right now are number 14 in clutch net rating. So they've struggled a little bit down the stretch of some games, but it takes time for star guards to figure out how they're going to play together in big moments. We're seeing that in Dallas with the way that Kyrie and Luka, sometimes down the stretch, it's kind of like whose turn is it? Who's going to take this shot? And it takes some time for teams to figure that out. So very, very natural for the Cavs to struggle a little bit in clutch situations. The New York Knicks are a team that it seems like everyone's already coronated that they're going to beat the Cavs in the first round of the playoffs. Right now, that matchup is Cleveland is number 4, New York is number 5. Now, I think the Knicks are playing very good basketball, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to beat the Cavs in the first round. And in my opinion, I think the Cavs should still be favored in that series. We'll break down why their defense is through the roof. They got a guy who can make big shots in big moments, and I think that the Cavaliers are much improved. On the other side, Miami, they're number 7 seed in the Eastern Conference, but they're absolutely not a team that you want to see in the playoffs. Last year, they gave every team an absolute headache. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, if you're the Boston Celtics, if you're the Philadelphia 76ers, you're just praying that Miami is not your first round matchup because they play tough, they're good in big moments, they're good down the stretch, and they have guys who come up big in big games. Before we get into tonight's game, take a second to subscribe to the channel. We're up over 1,000 subscribers, and we are grinding and growing like crazy. When the playoffs start, we're going to be doing videos every night because there's going to be so much to break down. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so we can talk more hoops because that's what we all love. So tonight, the Cleveland Cavaliers kind of encapsulated a lot of what makes them good and a lot of what they kind of struggle with. One of the things that make them great is they have four of their 5 in their starting lineup are absolutely excellent basketball players. Evan Mobley tonight at 15, 6, and 6. 2 blocks is unbelievable on the defensive end of the court. No one in this world is higher on Evan Mobley than me. I think this guy's unbelievable. He's a big credit to them having the number 1 defense in the NBA because he's able to guard the perimeter pretty well for a big guy, and he's also unbelievable at stopping shots at the paint. Jared Allen, 15 points, 12 rebounds. Darius Garland, 25 points, 7 assists. Donovan Mitchell, he had 18 points, 4 and 4. Kind of had a little bit slower of a night for Donovan Mitchell, but still 18 points is nothing to scoff at. Isaac Okoro added 13 points, which is massively huge. One of the big things that I think when you're looking at this Cavaliers team is will they be able to have someone step up at that other wing position? And they're kind of relying on Isaac Okoro and Lamar Stevens. Now, I actually went to the game in Cleveland that they played against Boston on Monday night. The Cavs and Celtics were playing, and the Celtics were leading the whole game. And Lamar Stevens came in the fourth quarter and really provided a real spark. He was grabbing offensive boards. He was making big plays. And the Cavs ended up pulling out that game in overtime. But you got to credit a lot of that to Lamar Stevens. Tonight, Isaac Okoro played really well, and that really helped the Cavs pull out this win tonight. Part of their problem, though, is their bench depth is really, really poor. And you thought that might be something that they addressed at the trade deadline, and all they did was cut Kevin Love. They added Danny Green, and Danny Green's not playing for him at all. But they're 29th in the NBA in bench scoring. And I don't think necessarily you have to be a top 5 bench scoring team. In fact, a lot of the teams that are in the top 5 are not very good. But almost all the other good teams are like middle of the pack. It is very important that you are able to get contributions off the bench if Donovan Mitchell gets in foul trouble in one of these games. You have to have a guy that can come in and make big plays. When you look at any playoff run that you have, there's always one or two games that you remember that's like Grant Williams for the Boston Celtics in Game 7 against Milwaukee hit 8 or 9 threes. And it's like, when you have a guy that can come off the bench and make a big play and can really contribute in some way, that has massive importance to being able to make deep playoff runs. Now, part of the reason I like this Cavs team so much is that I think when you're talking about the playoffs, and we're talking about the Eastern Conference playoffs in specific, it's going to be physical. It's going to be a defensive battle. When you look out west and you got the Nuggets, the Kings, the Suns, the Mavericks, a lot of those teams are offensive oriented. And defensively, those teams mostly reside in the Eastern Conference with the Cavs, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Sixers, the Heat. All those teams are very good defensively. So games are going to be close down the stretch. Games are going to be low scoring. And it's going to come down to execution in crunch time. The Cavaliers right now are 14th in crunch time net rating, which, not great. But last year, they really, really struggled in this department because when it came down to those last few minutes, Darius Garland was forced to create everything. Now you add a guy like Donovan Mitchell, a guy who's averaging almost 30 points a game for you. I believe it's 27. Let me look that up real quick. 27.6. He has the ability to create his own shot in the half court in big moments, who we've seen hit big shots, who's had big playoff games. So when you have a team that is number one in the NBA in defense, has young stars in Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and has an absolute all-star level player in Donovan Mitchell who can hit big shots down the stretch, you're going to give yourself a chance in a lot of playoff series. And when you're playing the New York Knicks, when you're playing second round, whether you're playing Milwaukee, now obviously you run into Giannis, that's a little bit of an interesting story. He's probably the best player in the NBA. But it's important that you have guys who can play big in crunch time. So the other thing I love about this Cleveland Cavaliers team is just the energy surrounding them. The energy in the stadium when I went on Monday night was honestly, it was the loudest stadium I've ever been in. The crowd was going crazy. They were super into it. They're all bought in on this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And they've had success, years in the past with LeBron James, but they went through some down years. Now, with the Cavs, one of the other concerns, one of the things to watch is that they're so young, a lot of their players have not had any playoff experience. And this is something that's really, really important when you look at teams that win titles, teams that make the NBA Finals. I mean, the Celtics kept making Eastern Conference runs. Jason Tatum, I think, has been to 4 Eastern Conference Finals. The Warriors last year, obviously, we know their pedigree. We knew they were 3-time champions, now 4-time champions, but all that stuff matters in making runs to the playoffs. So when Darius Garland gets in a big playoff moment and the crowd's going crazy and he's on the road in a hostile environment, will he be able to play at the same level he is in the regular season? Will Isaac Okoro be able to contribute? Will Evan Mobley, will he play at the same level? That's why I think defense is going to be so important because that's something that translates no matter whether the nerves are there or not. You're able to play defense if you can play defense at a high level, you can defend even if you're not making your shots. And can Donovan Mitchell carry you to wins in the playoffs? And I'm so excited to watch this Cavs team. And I think that matchup against the Knicks could be absolutely electric. Obviously, the Knicks are playing awesome basketball. They've won 9 of their last 10, had a terrible loss to the Hornets last night. But the Cavs, I think part of their problem is they expected a little more from Ricky Rubio. And Karis LeVert, God bless him. The guy is like, Karis LeVert is he's one of those guys that you think is really good till you get him on your team. And then you're kind of like, he's kind of underwhelming. He can have big moments and can play in big games, but ultimately kind of struggles overall. So there's 3 wins in a row for the Cleveland Cavaliers. You're 2.5 games behind the Philadelphia 76ers. Could you get to that 3 seed before the end of the season? We're running out of games here. So, pretty unlikely. But the Cavs, you want to continue to stack wins. You want to continue to play well, and you want to continue to develop that chemistry in close games. So anytime you can have these crunch time games on the road with Floyd Mayweather and Jake Paul in attendance in Miami, against a veteran team that's really, really good in crunch time, that almost all their games come down to the final 5 minutes. And we see Tyler Herro and Jimmy Butler hit big shot after big shot in big playoff moments. This is a big time win for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I think that this is something that can really springboard you forward into the final parts of the season. And sometimes it comes down to who gets hot at the end of the year. And no, I'm not predicting that the Cavs are going to win the NBA title, but I think they could be a real tough out for the Milwaukee Bucks, for the Boston Celtics, for the Philadelphia 76ers, whoever they meet in potentially the second round. And I think that first round series against the New York Knicks, let's stop coronating these big market teams like the Lakers and the Knicks. I mean, short little tangent, but people are saying that the Lakers would bounce for sure the Nuggets in the first round, which is just wild to me. They've just we just look at a big market team and just assume that if they're at their best, they can just bounce anyone, which drives me bonkers. But Cleveland Cavaliers are a real threat. I like JB Bickerstaff as a coach. I like Donovan Mitchell, and I love their young talent. Obviously, they're going to need some bench production. Karis LeVert's going to have to play well. They're going to need to get some guys to hit some three balls. They're middle of the pack on the three ball. That scares you a little bit. But all in all, if you're a Cleveland Cavalier fan, you got to feel encouraged by the way that they're playing lately. You got to feel encouraged about your roster and where you are going forward. And I think you have a real threat to be a second, third round playoff team. And, you know, once you make it past the first round, you can always get a little lucky. Last year, the Celtics got lucky that Chris Middleton was out in the second round of the playoffs. We'll never remember that. 5 years from now, we'll never remember that Chris Middleton didn't play. The Warriors' first title run, every point guard that they played against was out in all those series. So sometimes it does take a little luck in the playoffs. And if you get a little luck on your side, who knows? You can make a run and you can, you know, really outperform some of the expectations. All in all, super pumped about the rest of the season. Cavs are 42-26. Miami kind of need to kick it into gear. You don't want to be in that play-in tournament if you can help it. So that's all we got for you as far as this game's concerned. Don't forget to subscribe. Cyber out.